All right, welcome guys to the YouTube live stream here. We got 6 games to go over for a nice Tuesday slate. I think it's a pretty fun slate. There's a couple different ways you can go. I think it's definitely leaning towards more of that stars and scrubs build. A lot of plays I think are underpriced, which does make it a little bit difficult, right, with some of those stars at the top and trying to differentiate which one you really want. But yeah, let's go. If it's your first time watching or you guys are new, what we're going to do is we'll take a look at what we know so far. We'll review the Vegas odds, and then we'll go team by team, talk about the players I like, and then we'll get the questions at the end. So going over stuff, JV out, Grayson Allen out, kind of expected that. Some of the stuff is for Wednesday. Nasir Little is questionable. That actually is somewhat significant. He had a good game at garbage time last game. Don't expect that again, but if he is out, more minutes for the wings like Melo and like Rocco. Still no Derrick Jones Jr. Let's see. Norman Powell now probable. That's pretty big news. That takes Terrence Davis out of play. That's take those like fringe value plays out of play for Toronto. Okiki is available to play. He's only going to play 12 to 14 minutes. So it's like, yeah, that doesn't do a lot for me. Okafor out Tuesday, and that doesn't do much. He wasn't even in the rotation. Gary Clark and James Ennis are both starting for the Magic. I think they're both okay value options. Both are low usage guys. Well, Norman Powell now a game time decision. He was probably. I think he'll play. Yeah, available to play. Okay. Batum available to play. Aldridge out for Wednesday. Okay. So we're kind of up to date now with some news. So let's take a look at these Vegas odds. We have Raptors with Magic, a 215.5 over under. The Raptors are 6.5 point favorites. Clippers and Nets 242.5 over under. The Clippers are 1.5 point favorites. Grizzlies and Pacers a 221 over under. The Pacers are 4.5 point favorites. Blazers, Wizards 241.5 over under. The Wizards are 2.5 point favorites. Celtics, Warriors a 227 over under. The Celtics are 2.5 point favorites, and the Pistons, Jazz a 218 over under. The Jazz are 12 point favorites, a little bit of blowout risk there. So we'll start off with the Toronto side. With Norman Powell playing, again, that takes the value guys out of play, or at least like those fringe, so it takes Terrence Davis out of play. It takes those fringe guys like Bembry and Watanabe completely out of play. Lowry, Van Fleet, Siakam, I think are all decent plays at their respective prices. I have a hard time prioritizing these guys in this slate. When you have Paul George and Kawhi going up against Brooklyn, when you have Sabonis below 9K against Memphis, when you have Westbrook at literally 9-1 against Portland, when you have Dame on the other side, right? There's a lot of good spend ups in the slate. I don't think I can get to any of these guys. Now, I'm not saying they're out of play. Just for my build personally, I don't think I can get to them. Now, I do think one of those guys is a good game, but like I went over in my video, but like they've actually been up and down. Normally, these Raptors have been pretty consistent, like the main guys, but like all these guys have showed a somewhat low floor, and they've been a little inconsistent. They all are at fair enough price points. I mean, I do think one at least gets there, but it's like good luck trying to figure out which one's going to be. Aaron Baines is honestly probably my favorite play for the Toronto Raptors. Value is not great on the slate when we're considering guys like Gary Clark, Eric Pascal, right? That's when value's not good. While Baines, the last game, was really low owned. I said, I think Baines will play more because they need his defense on Vooch. And sure enough, 29 minutes. So I'm expecting similar minutes here for Baines as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I actually think he's a pretty solid value play at this price point. And that's it for me on Toronto. So moving on to the Orlando side. I mean, this price just sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Nikola Vucevic at 8.2K with no Aaron Gordon. As long as this game stays competitive, I have a hard time seeing Vooch not getting there. The only way I see Vooch not getting there is foul trouble or the game blows out. He shot 5 of 18 last game. 5 of 18 and still almost put up 50 fantasy points. So the floor, I think, is super high with Vooch. The ceiling is really high, too. I really like Vooch. I think he's one of the top plays of the slate at his respective price. Fournier at 6'3". I'll let others chase. I'll pass. I don't play Evan Fournier. I know he's had some good games. There's better plays in the slate, in my opinion. I would rather honestly have Cole Anthony. I think he has a little bit of a higher floor due to his assists. Now, Anthony's been a little up and down, too. It's like I don't love the play, but like if I had to pick one of those Magic guards, I would lean Anthony. Again, I don't play Terrence Ross either. Strictly dependent on the scoring. If you want to take a shot at him in GPP, he's fine. Actually Okeke going to play 12 to 14 minutes does downgrade Clark and James Ennis. Now, James Ennis was on somewhat of a minutes limit. He's only played, 19, 18, 19 minutes last 3 games. If he plays more tonight, I think he's viable, but will he? I'm not fully convinced about that. Gary Clark should play more. I expect him to play, around 30 minutes. Really low floor, though. So it's like, again, we have to consider these guys in the slate because the stars on the slate are so good. But, then it forces you onto these plays. It's like, it's an uneasy feeling. It's like 2 days ago where I had that really good night, right when I went stars and scrubs with Westbrook and all those stars, and forced me onto value plays that I was like, I'm uneasy about. Right, I got a little bit lucky with Watanabe, right? So some of those value guys, you're not going to feel good about. But I think that's the optimal build is go kind of that stars and scrubs and hope the scrubs that you play don't kill you. Gary Clark and James Ennis are firmly in play at their respective prices. Okeke would rather have Ennis or Clark because they're just going to play more minutes, even though they're all 3 pretty low usage. Probably not getting to Dwayne Bacon. Kem Birch, if he wasn't center, I would like him, but his center is so loaded today that it's I don't think it's worth it, opportunity cost of playing him at one of the center spots. So it's that's it for me on Orlando. Moving on to the Clippers and the Nets. So we got news that Batum is he's available, right? I'm pretty sure we saw that. Yeah, will play. So with Batum playing, that obviously completely takes Patterson out of play. Wasn't even considering him anyway. But then Marcus Morris should play less minutes too. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I think, are 2 of the better plays in the slate. 9-2 and 8-9 respectively. Love the matchup for them. And are they going to be super popular? I don't know if either of these guys are going to be really, really popular in the slate. But I do have a good amount of interest in both Kawhi and Paul George. Ibaka, Zubac, again, opportunity cost. Maybe one of those guys has a good game, but there's just no way I'm going to him in this slate. No thank you in Batum. I think Reggie Jackson is viable at 5-1. Should play, mid to high 20s minutes with no Pat Beverly. And he's been solid. Now, usage won't be as high playing alongside Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But like I said, this matchup is fantastic. So I think Reggie is actually okay. Kind of a sneaky GPP play. Marcus Morris, downgrade him with Batum coming back. Still think you could go there, but don't love it. You can always take a shot at Lou Williams and GPPs. The minutes been all over the place. His production has not really been there. He's had a couple games where he's had some decent games, but really, we have not seen a vintage Lou Williams game yet this season. Does it come tonight? Maybe there's a chance. You could go to him in GPPs. It's nothing I feel confident about with. That's it for the Clippers. Moving on to the Brooklyn Nets. I will make this pretty simple for you guys. Zero interest in the Brooklyn Nets in the slate. How are you going to play these when they're fully healthy? How are you going to play these Nets over Vooch, over Paul George, over Kawhi Leonard, over Russell Westbrook? How? I don't think it's worth it unless you're just trying to get super, super contrarian. But yeah, maybe one of those guys for the Nets takes over and has a big game. Sure. Good luck trying to figure out which one's going to be. And then second of all, you're forfeiting a lot of good plays by playing one of these stars instead of those other stars I mentioned. So I don't think it's worth it. I just cross off Brooklyn and move on, to be honest. All right, 2 games up, 2 games down. Let's make sure we're up to date here on Fantasy Labs. We are. If you guys do enjoy this content, if you hit that like button, that does help me out a ton. We're almost at 350 viewers, 33 likes. Let's try to get to 100 likes before the end of the show. And moving on to Memphis and the Pacers. Also make this pretty simple. Memphis is a team I have very little interest in. I've played Ja the last 2 slates, and they continue to play him such low minutes. Just so tilting. So at the moment, I'm just staying away from Ja Morant. Let's see. Clark at 6'2", no thanks. Brooks, Anderson, no. Tillman, 5'1", don't think we have to do it. Gorgie Jang at 4'7", again, probably plays mid-20s minutes. I could see taking a shot on him because he's a decent point per minute guy. D'Anthony Melton's been good. He's been good the last couple games, no doubt about it. 35 and 40 fantasy points. I feel like it's kind of chasing. We kind of know what D'Anthony Melton is. He's a decently high usage guy off the bench, but he's not a 35, 40 fantasy point game guy. And there's been blowouts, right? So it's pump the brakes here a little bit, D'Anthony Melton. I still think he's viable, but if he's going to be really popular, I'll pass. And that's it for me on the Memphis side. Moving on to the Pacers side. So Sabonis and Brogdon, I think, both look like pretty solid options. Probably prefer Sabonis for a little bit more, but it's close. I know he had the floor game last time out, but normally Sabonis is a guy that can get you 45 to 50 fantasy points with a little bit more upside. So I think he's a really solid play here. below 9K. Also have interest in Brogdon. Again, he's gone for over 40 fantasy points in the last 4 games. So Brogdon and Sabonis in a good matchup. I like them both. Turner, too many good center plays for me to get to him. Of all the secondary plays on the Pacers, if I had to pick one, it would be Jeremy Lamb, who has played 30 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. But it's not like a super, I don't love Jeremy Lamb. Just if I had to pick one, it would be him. All right, so this is the game we got to talk about a lot here. Portland and Washington, by far my favorite game to target. Damian Lillard at 10-7. I think he's going to be low owned. And should he be low owned at this price? Looking at the other place, yeah, I don't think he should be super popular, but I really like him in tournaments. We know the beef with him and Westbrook. They do not like each other. It's just a matchup where 2 teams play absolutely no defense. We're going to have big minutes out of Dame Lillard. The game last night was a blowout, so it's not like he played huge minutes. I really like Dame in tournaments. This is not an optimal play. I do not think he's an optimal play at this price, but the upside literally is 70 plus for Dame in this matchup. So I like him a lot for tournaments. I also like Enes Kanter a lot. I think he flies under the radar. I think we get 30 to 35 minutes. He's a good rebounder. He's gone for a double-double last 4 games. This Portland team's pretty thin. I do like Enes Kanter a good amount. So Kanter and Dame at the top, I do like both. Cameron Dixon with the $3 super chat. Thank you, man. Join the Patreon, boys. I appreciate that. Really do. If you guys want premium content off that on Patreon, I'll be live over there in about 15 minutes to kind of tell you guys where I'm going. Dame 30%? I don't think he's going to be 30%. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be 30% at almost 11K. I could be wrong. I don't think he's going to be 30. I would say maybe like 15-ish, 15 to 20, maybe. Again, I don't look at ownership projections, so it's like, could be wrong there. But I don't think he's going to be that popular. I don't. So I do like Dame a lot. I think, if I'm building a cash game lineup, Damian Lillard is not in my cash game lineup. Let's just say that, right? So if I'm trying to build the optimal lineup, I don't think Dame's in it. I don't. At that price, Clipper stars I prefer, point per dollar. I prefer Vucevic. I prefer Sabonis, probably Brogdon, Westbrook. All those guys I prefer, even Tatum maybe, point per dollar over Lillard. But that's not saying, this is why I like Lillard for tournaments, is because I think that price point will scare some people off. And talked about Kanter, I really like him. The secondary plays for Portland's a little bit tricky. I have a hard time getting in the 6K Gary Trent, even though the minutes will probably be there. It's just so scoring dependent. We saw it the last game, right? 13 fancy points. He has that floor if he's not hitting his shots. Roko at 5'2" is just filler. We'll play about 30 minutes. Really has not had any big games so far this year. Pretty low usage guy. Again, it's a good matchup. So if you landed him as last piece in, I don't hate it. Melo, we got to keep an eye on the status of Nasir Little. We're still waiting on that. If Nasir Little is out, curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. I'm guessing they would probably start either Rodney Hood or Melo. So if Nasir Little's out and Carmelo Anthony starts, I think he would actually be a pretty solid value play. Now, he's been terrible back-to-back games, 2 of 8, 1 of 7, but there would be more minutes to go around. So you could consider Melo there if Nasir Little's out. I think Anthony Simons at 4-3 is a decent value play. I think we get mid-20s minutes from him. Again, it's just a fantastic spot here. So I'm fine with a lot of these Blazers value. Does one play really stand out? Not really. Again, Rodney Hood, only if Nasir Little is out. If Nasir Little's out, maybe he starts. Again, he's super low usage guy. Does not do a lot of peripherals. But if he plays mid-20s minutes, you could see him get it done there at that price. Then Nasir Little himself, I know he had the big game last time out, went for almost 50 in garbage time. I'm just a little bit uneasy about it. He played 14 minutes the previous game. Normally he's a pretty low usage guy. So if he plays, he's same territory of Gary Clark and James Ennis, right? It's I don't feel good about any of these guys, but I want to get those stars in. So you kind of have to play guys like this. He would be viable, but I would be worried about ownership after that last game because I would not expect anywhere close to 40-something. I would expect somewhere probably around 20 minutes or so if he starts, and probably about 10 to 15 fancy points. On the Washington side, Brad Beal, Russell Westbrook, and 9-9 and 9-1 respectively. I don't see how I get away from Russell Westbrook. He was one of my favorite plays last slate. He's one of my favorite plays again. Absolutely love Westbrook at 9-1. I think he's one of the easiest plays. I do. In this matchup, played 35 minutes last time out. I expect mid-30s minutes. He said he's fully healthy. He can stuff the stat sheet. I love Westbrook on this slate. Brad Beal also have interest in. I think he's more the contrarian option because with Westbrook in, he doesn't do as much of the peripheral stats. We've still seen some enormous games from Brad Beal, and you could honestly play them both with Dame and just go value from there in a complete game stack. I don't hate that build, honestly, for tournaments, but I do prefer Westbrook to Beal point per dollar. As far as the value for Washington, I'm going to stay away from Rui. If you want to take a shot in Bertans and hope he just hits his shots, sure. Ish Smith at 4-5 probably plays about 20 minutes off the bench. He went for 32 last game. I wouldn't expect 32 again, but like a viable value play. Robin Lopez versus Mo Wagner. I think I would rather take the shot in Wagner off the bench. He's a decent point per minute guy. He played 21 minutes. Now, I'm not like really confident in this because they still have Alex Len. Again, they have Robin Lopez. So like if he's not playing well, they could just like pull the plug on him and maybe he only plays like 5 minutes and then you're just screwed. But like if Mo Wagner plays about 20 minutes, I could see him getting it done. I could in a really good matchup. All right, that's it for Portland and Washington. So let's refresh this, and then we got 2 more games to go. Beal for cash, I think I would play Westbrook. On the Boston side, so Boston's a team with no Marcus Smart. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown look like pretty solid spin-ups. I think I would prefer Tatum to Brown. Like I said, you got to make tough calls in the slate. You do. There's a lot of good spin-ups in the slate. Tatum is one of them. And you can only play like 2 or 3. So it's like you really got to make some tough decisions. There's a lot of guys underpriced that I went over. But I think Tatum is still a good play for sure. Should play 35 to 40 minutes. Love the matchup for him. So I think Tatum is one of the better spin-ups of the slate. I do prefer him to Brown. Not saying Brown's out of play, but more contrarian. No thank you in Kemba at 6'7" with limited minutes. Tice, minutes have been a little up and down. If he plays over 30, I think he could get there, but like don't love it. Jeff Teague, even with Marcus Smart out, I'm not sure if I get him. I think the only way I would take a shot on Teague if he starts. If he does not start, then I'm like a little bit worried about the minutes. He hasn't been playing a ton. Thompson, Robert Williams. Thompson has moved to the bench. Minutes have been down on him. Robert Williams has been playing about 15 minutes. You could take a shot in either of them for tournaments, right? They're guys that could get it done in like 15 to 20 minutes. But that's probably it for me on Boston. On the Golden State side, so Steph Curry is more of a contrarian option. I mean, I just have a hard time getting to him over Westbrook, into him over some other plays. So, like, yeah, he's viable. He'll be super low owned. He'll probably be, sub 10% owned, maybe less. So, like, you can go to Steph in tournaments, but there's just no way in the main slate I can get to him for my one lineup. Wiggins, Oubre, secondary options for me. Where I do like some plays here are with the bigs with Golden State. I think this is where you can get some value on the slate. So, Draymond Green at 4.9. I don't know if he's going to be super popular, but I kind of like Draymond. They might use a little bit of him at the small ball 5. He has not been great this year. He is not, but we should get about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. He actually played 28 in 3 quarters. So, like, he was on pace for probably actually closer to mid-30s minutes out of the game, say competitive. That game was a blowout. So, like, I could see, taking a shot on Draymond here. I think he's a solid play below 5K. And then Pascal, I do like at 3.5. I know he's going to be popular, but good thing with him is small forward eligible. Plus, again, with no James Wiseman, he should run a little bit at the small ball 5. So I'm guessing we get around 20 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But at 3.5, him running some small ball 5, I think he's a good value. You can make the argument for Kevon Looney too. I think we get somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes from him. Also viable. So Looney, Pascal, and Draymond are where I'm looking to for value. And then finally, Detroit, Utah. I'll make this pretty simple. I know some people have been talking about Jeremy Grant. I'm going to pass. I think this Detroit team gets blown out. This team is one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NBA right now. I am not confident they keep this game close. So, and a 6-game slate would rather use my spend ups in games that are, first of all, higher over under a game. Second of all, games that I'm more confident that stay close. So I'm just not getting into Grant. I'm not getting to anyone at Detroit. I don't think it's worth it in this slate unless you're trying to get really, really contrarian. On the Utah side, I do like the top 3 guys. My concern is just, can the Pistons keep it close? If you think they can, then you can look to Mitchell, Gobert, Conley. Those are the 3 guys to look to. Mitchell and Gobert probably have the most upside if you're shooting for the upside. I think both are underpriced. I do like the matchup. Again, my concern is 12-point spread. I'm not confident this Detroit team keeps it close. All right, so that is it, guys, for my breakdown. Let's get to some questions. We got a good, I'll be on for a good close to 10 minutes. Yeah, Tatum or Kawhi is a good question. I think I'll go Kawhi there. I never played Draymond. Triple single man. Yeah, you definitely don't have to play Draymond. Like he's not a must play for sure. I will take free L's over playing Pascal ever again. Yeah, you don't. I mean, again, like these are just guys we have to consider, right? Like, am I confident with Pascal? Am I confident with Gary Clark, James Ennis, Looney? Am I confident with any of these guys? Not really. No, but these guys open it up for me to get Westbrook, the Dame Lillards, the Kawhi Leonard, the Paul George, the Vucevic into my lineup. And I think a lot of those stars look pretty good for the prices, so I'm taking the risk on some of these guys. Huge fade? Yeah, you again, by no means you had to play Eric Pascal. Thoughts on Little? If he plays, I think he's an okay value play. Would put him in the same category as Gary Clark and like James Ennis. Guys that I'm not excited to play at all, but they open up for me to get the stars in. So like, what you're hoping for really is, again, I think this is a stars and scrubs build. You're hoping that the value plays you play don't kill you. You're not hoping for big games. You're just hoping for, like, if you play Nasir Little, you're hoping for like 15 fantasy points. If you're playing Gary Clark, you're hoping for like 15. You're hoping they don't get you like 6, right? Looney in play today? Yeah, he is. All three of the Warriors bigs I think are good plays. Tatum or Sabonis? I'll take Sabonis. That's close. Yeah, that was the first night. I played Pascal as well. DK asking dude, no worries. Like, seriously, I think if that game played, it would have been almost an identical 2v2. So it's like, and you can't predict that. I don't think have you guys got your money back from DraftKings? I don't know if I have. I was actually just like thinking about that. I was like looking at my account. I haven't got my money back yet. Let me know. Let me know in the chat if you guys have got yours back. Durant and Baines or Vooch and Grant. I would rather have Vooch and Grant. PG or Kawhi? Eh. Give me Paul George, but like that's basic coin flip there. Yeah, Mitchell or Brown. I'll go Brown. A little bit more confident that the Celtics keep it close. Core, got to save a core for Patreon. Apologize for that. Pascal might drop 25. Yeah, Kawhi or Sabonis. Again, that's basic coin flip for me too. Like the higher, Kawhi might have a little bit more upside. Just again based on that total too, but I do like both a lot. 3,500 for utility. I'll go Eric Pascal. Marcus Morris or Ken Birch. Morris. Mike Conley 6'4", not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Again, the three Utah guys look pretty decent. Boucher, you can. He's always fine for GPPs. The minutes have not been there, but he's always fine for GPPs. Thoughts on Robin Lopez? I personally would rather have Mo Wagner than Robin. Yeah, I'm kind of debating with Sabonis. Like I'm going back and forth right now on some of the stars. I'm not like I don't have it set right now. Vooch and Siakam, I think that's fine. Like I definitely prefer Vooch to Siakam. Vooch or Sabonis? I think Vooch with no Aaron Gordon has more upside right now than Sabonis. Like it's close. Will Pascal play? Yeah. He did not play the second half last game because of back spasms. Guard for 4,500. I personally would probably do Simons. I think I would do Anthony Simons. Or if you're feeling risky, you can go Lou Williams and hope we get one of the vintage Lou Williams games that we rarely, if not have like barely seen it all this year. So like Simons or Lou Williams for me. Gobert and Green or Sabonis and Looney. I'll go Sabonis and Looney there. Opening night, I agree. Pascal was the best play of that slate. He busted, but like he was the best play in that slate. Anyone on the Utah side? I don't think no, because Clarkson sometimes will play in the blowout, sometimes he won't. I don't think it's worth it to try to play that factor. Sabonis or Tatum and Cash, it's close, but I'll go Sabonis. Melton or Lou? I mean, Melton is probably safer. I think upside is higher on Lou, though. Rui or Bertans? I don't really like either. I know it's a really good matchup. How many minutes did Rui play? He should play 25 to 30. He probably has a little bit of a higher floor than Bertans. So if you're going for the floor, it's Rui. Bertans just depends if he hits his shots, right? So it's like 0 of 7, 4 13. He has not hit his shots, but like if he does, he can go for 30 plus. So it's like, I guess if you're shooting for the upside, Bertans, but I think Rui is a little bit of a higher floor. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Boucher. He didn't last time. Clark or Pascal? Well, straight up Clark, right? Is that Brandon Clark? Or there's not another Clark on the slate. Oh, Gary Clark? Gary Clark. Okay, so you spelled it like Brandon Clark. So Gary Clark or Pascal? I would rather have Pascal. Cole Anthony or Reggie Jackson? That's a good question. I'll go Reggie because I like the matchup better. Shooting guard, yeah, shooting guard's kind of tough. So like you can go up to Beal at the top for tournaments. I kind of like that if you can get to him. I think Jeremy Lamb would probably be the guy in the mid range I would take the shot on. Value wise, again, mentioned Lou Williams. Mentioned Simons. You can go D'Anthony Melton if you think he continues to play that well. But like there's not a ton. Like Roddy Hood, maybe if he starts, if what's his name is out, Nasir Little's out. So, yeah, shooting guard is not great. I'm not going to lie. Desmond Bane or Rodney Hood. So, right now, it would be Bane for me. But if Nasir Little gets ruled out, I think I would go Rodney Hood. So, like, Desmond Bane, last 2 games has played 21 and 25 minutes in the blowout. So, I expect about 20 minutes from him. I would rather have Bane than Hood at the moment. But if Nasir Little gets ruled out, I think I'd rather have Rodney Hood. Tice or Tillman? Tice, I guess. Don't love either. It's Eric Pascal chalk day. Yeah, well, again, we know how well that went first game of the season. It went terribly. So, again, by no means is Pascal a must-play. Thoughts on Simons? I think Simons is one of the better cheap shooting guard plays. Should play mid-20s minutes in a super high over-under game. Robert Williams or Looney? It's a good question. I'll go Robert Williams there. The minutes are a little more up in the air for Robert Williams, but he's a better point per minute guy. If we get like 15 from both of them, I would just rather have Robert Williams. Now, if we get like 20 plus from Looney and 15 from Robert Williams, then I'll probably be close. But like, just give me the player that is better point per minute guy, and if they get similar minutes, again, just rather go him. Josh Jackson, he'll play. It depends on the blowout. If it's like a 20-point game going into the fourth quarter, yeah, he'll probably play half the fourth quarter. If it's like a 30 to 35 point game, then it's going to be a lot of the third strings. So it's like, depends on how big of a blowout it is. Gobert or Cantor? That's a good question. I will go Cantor, but I do like them both. Pascal won't be chalk. I kind of disagree with that. I think he'll be pretty popular, but that's just me. Baines, Tillman, or Wagner? I think Baines is the safest of those guys, point per dollar. I don't mind Wagner for GPPs though. Okay, I'll just have to update that link really quick. All right, guys, last minute here, and then I do have to get out of here. I got to update a couple things for Patreon here. Garrison Matthews or Little? Well, I would not play Garrison Matthews. So Little, I guess if he plays, bring home that chicken. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably because I just put the wrong link on Patreon. Cantor or Gobert? Yeah, Cantor. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. Good luck to everyone tonight. Have a great night. I hope the value plays that you play do not completely bust. And I will be back here Wednesday for I think we had a 10-game slate. So have a good night, guys, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.